Mashiach ben David, Mashiach, Mashiach, Mashiach ben David. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 la, da, da. Ay, da, da, da. Did it, ay, 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 did it, ay, 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 ay. Did it, ay, 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 did it, ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 Yeah, and this morning, I said that this guy was saying that he's working. He was working for Satmar. He was working in Borough Park in Bredbury. He was working here, there. And he was working for Chabad. Every day is a Yom Tov. He comes into work. They tell him it's a Yom Tov. It's Rosh Chodesh Kislev. It's Beis Kislev. It's Yudalit Kislev. It's Tes Kislev. It's Yud Kislev. It's the fifth Lichtel. It's the Zibbete Lichtel. It's the achte Lichtel. It's Hey Teves. Every day is a Yom Tov. So he thought about it. And he realized that Chabad, they want to be Sameach, so they make a Farbrengen. Okay.
Maybe did say, well, who needs a reason to have a Farbrengen?
Yeah. So this morning, someone said, yeah, but so if there's a Farbrengen every time, so who needs to say Tachanun? So someone said, so Shmulik said, yeah, look, we can make a bris every day. It's not so easy to make a bris. I mean, yeah, exactly. So I was thinking afterwards that you know what? There's a story from the Michel the Alte. He was a chassid of the Tzemach Tzedek, and he was a mashpia on Lubavitch. And what happened was there was once a Farbrengen. There was a daytime Farbrengen, and then they were davening mincha. And he said, "There's no tashlim." They said, "Why? There's a bris." Okay, bris. Okay. Yeah. Then they turned around. They asked the Michel, "Who the bris?" He said, "A Farbrengen is a chassidusha bris. Farbrengen is a bris. We try to get rid of the foreskin, that thing." And he explained that in the Farbrengen there is mila and there's priya and there's metzitza. He said the mila is taivas isur. To get, when we sit together by Chassidus Farbrengen, it helps us in the nisyonis that we have, even things that are isur. Then there's priya, which is a dakis skin to cut it off, which is taivas heter. And metzitza is to schlep them from the weite ereter. Now what it is that deep down we really have a benkenish, we have a yearning to lakus. Elamai, we don't feel it. When we come together and Malava Malke, Mezok L'chaim, and we sing songs, all of a sudden there's a certain benkenish, just like there's a certain yearning that the neshama has, just like when a bocher goes to yeshiva or a girl goes to Sem, and she's away for many, many, many months. And there's a chukka to come home, to be home. Befrat, it's a Yom Tiv, like Hanukkah, and the child remembers how it's at home, the latkes and the atmosphere, and the child has gaguyim to be home because would like to be home. So Chassidus Farbrengen creates the gaguyim. The neshama really has the gaguyim to lakus. Elamai, we come in this world and we don't feel it so much. So that's what the Michal said. The Michal said that it's the him for him was nicht gelechter. He didn't say tachon when there's a Farbrengen because it's a bris. The Farbrengen helps to cut away the thick skin and the small skin, and it helps us also come and bring and take out the benkenish, the yearning that we have to have a lakus. L'chaim, 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 l'chaim.
That's why it's mean that Chabad will always see Eliyahu Hanavi.
Yeah.
Rabbi, it's mean that Chabad
Yeah.
can always see Eliyahu Hanavi.
Yeah, yeah.
That they break every time.
Yes.
Oh, well, yeah, for now.
Chaim. Chaim.
Menachem Mendel, come here. There'll be a folding chair.
Yeah.
Oh, here, there is. Here, Mendel, here.
Ja, nein, kommen.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. I die. I la da. I da da. I lie, da. Yeah, da. Let it da my da oh yeah da oh da oh yeah da oh yeah da ya oh yeah da yeah da my da oh yeah da oh yeah L'chaim. Oh, what? Come.
Close the door.
Menachem, come down in L'chaim. Menachem, come here. Take and give everybody L'chaim.
Show me. Me? Whoa, the Hussein. That's what's up. Happy birthday.
I can give you L'chaim. Good to go.
Hussein hat?
Ja, hat schon. Ist mir jetzt angekommen. Aber mein Stein, L'chaim. Oh, here.
I don't know. Here. Rio.
Time.
Chaim, L'chaim. Oh, happy birthday.
Chaim, Chaim, Chaim.
Part of your birthday too. Your birthday. Yeah.
Chaim.
Hey.
Time.
I lie lie die that I die did it I lie lie that I did it I ya ya da ya da ya da ya da I ya ya that I ya did it I ya that I ya L'chaim I ya da ya da ya da ya da La la da 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 la da ya did it I ya 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 you gave her up a right chick? Yeah, 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 da, yeah, yeah, da, yeah, da, yeah, la, da, la, 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 da, and la, 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 yeah, da, yeah, da, yeah, da, yeah, da. Hey, did la, 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 da, did la, 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 da, did la, la, yeah, yeah, da, yeah, da, yeah, da, yeah, da, yeah, da. Hey, did la, 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 did la, yeah, did la, la, yeah, la, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm taking care here. Ah, yeah, da, yeah, da, yeah, da. I did it, yeah, I did it, yeah. La, 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 I did it, da, I did it, yeah, yeah, da, yeah, da. Da, yeah, da, yeah, da, yeah, da, yeah, did it, la, 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 da. Did it, la, yeah, yeah, da, yeah, 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 da, yeah, da. Did it, la, 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 da, did it, la, la. Did it, la, la, da, yeah, da, yeah, da, yeah, da, yeah, da, yeah, da, yeah, da. Did it, ay, 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 did it, ay, 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 go. Did it, ay, 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 ay. La, 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 did it, ay, did it, ay, la, did it, did it, ay, 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 ay. Let it, ay, ay, let it, ay, 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 oh, yeah, yeah, did it, ay, 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 did it, ay, 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 did it, ay, 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 Chaim, l'chaim, l'chaim. Motzei Shabbos says Gula to tell a story. So we have to start a Malava Malka with a story. L'chaim, l'chaim, l'chaim. Jason, you got l'chaim? You have a chair. You have a chair. There's folding chairs here. Take a folding chair and take a l'chaim. First the l'chaim.
Absolutely.
L'chaim, 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 b'rebrocha. Definitely gewatschen, aber das. The reason I'm sharing this story because it's one of my favorite stories. As a child, I was learning the special project we did in camp. Shuvas V'Biyurim from the Rebbe. There's 15 shuvas that the Rebbe answered. You ever learn Shuvas V'Biyurim from the Rebbe? Ever learn Shuvas V'Biyurim? Mamish, it's a must. But befrat this, once you learn this one, you're potter mamish. This one you can't go without. So this basically the Rebbe used to take questions. He used to write shuvas for people. Wow, it was an unbelievable thing back in the day. So then the Rebbe collected 15 of his shuvas and he published them, and it's a sefer called Shuvas V'Biyurim. I recently, when I learned it in camp in Tovshim Mem Zayin in Detroit. So it was the old print, but they reprinted it really nicely recently, and you could buy it now in the Kahos. So if you're looking for a cheap sefer to buy in Kahos, you do the Hey Teves thing to buy a sefer. 350. You can buy the Sefer, and I think the learning it will be a little more than just 350. Yeah, yes, aber es ist zusammengestellt, es ist schön, die originelle Tuvasabiurim. Okay, the Kitzer. The Frierdiker Rebbe did a tour in America, and one of the places that he went was Chicago. There was a special kuntas printed, Bikru Chicago, all the sikhs that the Frierdiker Rebbe said while he was in Chicago. Among the sikhs that the Frierdiker Rebbe said when he was in Chicago is the story of the Baruch Mordechai Babroisk. So the story is that Baruch Mordechai is going to go in. His father-in-law was Reb Shmuel. His father-in-law was Reb Shmuel, who was the Dayan of Vilna, and he became a chassid. He became a chassid the Alter Rebbe. After he became a chassid the Alter Rebbe, there was a kfutza chassidim in Vilna who, together with Reb Mordechai, they moved to Babroisk. Babroisk is a Babroisk is a Ir ve'em b'Yisrael, right? Anyone knows where Babroisk is? Where's Babroisk?
Go on to the Russia.
What is it?
Keep on going.
Oh,
Which corner?
so I needed to do a root canal, and believe it or not, it was a very good dentist actually. And because I knew exactly where Babroisk is and where the tzaddikim and the rabbonim that were in Babroisk, I got a $500 discount.
Wow. Wow.
He said, I said, "What's your name? Where are you from?" So the Violet tells me it's from Babroisk. I said, "Babroisk, the Baruch Mordechai is from Babroisk. You know who the Baruch Mordechai is?" He said, "Sure. How do you know who's the Baruch Mordechai?" I said, "I'll tell you a lot of stories." The Violet just fixed my tooth. At the end, we were talking, and when I go out, I said,
Talked when he was working on your mouth.
"No, not while he's working out, he's talking." But farther manochdim. Anyway, the story of Baruch Mordechai was that he was a Rosh Yeshiva in Vilna. He was a Talmud of the Vilna Gaon, and he was the son-in-law of the Dayan of Shmuel, the Dayan of Vilna, and he became a Chabad Chassid, became a Chassid Alter Rebbe. There was the community in Babroisk invited him to become the Rav Roshi of Babroisk. He moved to Babroisk, and he became the Rav in Babroisk. Together with him, a lot of families of Chassidim that were in Vilna and were uncomfortable with the situation that was going on in Vilna moved together with him. They moved together with him. Jeff, bring your mother to the kitchen. The women in the kitchen. So the Baruch Mordechai moved together with a whole bunch of Chassidim, and they moved to Babroisk. What happened was that the entire family had cut off ties with the Baruch Mordechai. Because the Baruch Mordechai became a chassid, so the family disowned him. They didn't want to have any connection together with him. Now that the Baruch Mordechai moved to Babroisk, and the Baruch Mordechai became a known Rav, and he became a known Rav, and there was Shilas Tshuvas between him and many of the Rabbonim in Shklov and in Minsk. So he had a brother-in-law, Rabbi Victor, who was also Rav in Vilna, and he was traveling, and he decided that maybe the family should make shalom in the family. He's talking about it this morning. Should make shalom in the family, and he decided that he wants to stop in Babroisk. So he sent a message to his brother-in-law asking if he could come visit him in Babroisk. The Baruch Mordechai was din nefesh. He was a person that was not looking, even though his family disowned him. But he wasn't, like we spoke this morning, he wasn't going to stand on ceremony. They disowned him. Right now that the family was interested in reconnecting with him, he was thrilled. He made a meeting and he told the Kehila that this Rebbe Avigdor was a Rav in Vilna is a Gon Otzim, and he would like that, and it's his brother-in-law, he would like that the community greet Rebbe Avigdor properly. So Kachava was a community meeting, and they decided that in one of the shuls he's going to give a drasha. When he was traveling, as he came out, he came close to the city. Members of the Vadakol of the Shiva Tuvayir went to greet him, and they brought him into the city. They asked him if he would say a drasha, a pilpul, and he agreed. They brought him to the main base medrash, But before he's going to speak, they brought him into Cheder Sheni, a side room. He should rest for a little bit before he'll talk. And that time, Babroisk became a Chabad city. So every shul had a Chabadnitza. Besides, a Cheder Sheni had a Chabadnitza. What's a Chabadnitza? Kishmoy Kenu, Chabad. It was a room for Chabad Chassidim. Chabad Chassidim that would daven b'mesinus barichus. So they would start with the minyan, and then they would drift into that room. They would be able to sit there quietly, b'meshech hayoim, and daven undisturbed. So Rebbe Avigdor hears a very sweet voice. There was someone there, and he had an unbelievable sweet voice, and he's davening b'shtapchus hanefesh, and he's singing songs, and Rebbe Avigdor is like listening. He's wow. You never heard someone with such a sweet voice and such a sweet davening. So it really captured his heart. So he asks his brother-in-law, he says, who is this? He says, this is Alma Leib the Shmeiser. Because in Vilna there was a Yid, he was Nebuchadnezzar Yosem, and he never learned a day in his life. And because his father never sent him to Cheder. And he grew up to be a Shmeiser, a Balagola. And there was a Lubavitcher Chassid, a Chabad. There was no Lubavitch, a Chabad Chassid that had a taxi service. He was the Uber of Vilna, and he had many wagons and b'chulu. That was his parnasa. And Zalmalei was the Shmeiser. He was the foreman of the team of wagons and horses. And he was an ish poshut b'yoyse. He could hardly daven. He would be ma'aveseder. He was a Yiddish Shemayim. He davened, but he couldn't learn. When Baruch Mordechai was moving away from Vilna, and there were a few families that moved with him, he said to Zalmalei, come with me. So Zalmalei moved together with him to Babroisk. And Baruch Mordechai told him, instead of being a Shmeiser, I would advise you to take your money and invest it in buying a piece of land and make a garden. And then plant fruits and vegetables, and you'll have your own produce and I think that'll be a better parnasa for you. Kachava. He invested the money he had. He bought a garden in Babroisk. He produced his own fruits and vegetables, which he would sell, and he became Baruch Hashem. His parnasa was very good, and now that he had a little more money, he had a little more time. So he hired a malamed to teach him Torah, and if he ever had extra time, he would daven. His main thing was he was a davener. So now, when Rebbe Avigdor is asking his brother-in-law, who is this? He says, the Gedenk Zalmalei the Shmeiser. So Avigdor says, Zalmalei is echet geworden a davener, because he remembered him as a simpleton. As echet geworden a davener. The Baruch Mordechai keeps quiet. I mean, the family's trying to make amends over here. He's not going to start arguing with them. He's avort for avort, and before you know it, he's trying to. Okay, that was it. He didn't say anything. Now, Rebbe Avigdor said a pilpul, the whole city came, and he said, after the pilpul, he was feeling very good about himself. He just said a pilpul, and the Vesa that Tzalta Maisa, that there was a Rosh Yeshiva that was giving a pilpul, Zaidi, and it was a Rosh Yeshiva, a famous yeshiva, and so my Zaidi was listening to his pilpul. He asked Bashayla. So he said he can't answer him right now, but he'll write to him later. He never wrote to him. My Zayda is still waiting for the answer. But I think my Zayda wasn't asking this. He wanted a little bit, cut him down to size. So upon him, the pilpul is gegangen gut. The pilpul is gelungen. Everyone heard. Mit gefragt Shailes. The Olam Matanoah gehat. That was very nice. After the pilpul, Reb Zalman Leib, who just finished davening, came out, and people are standing around Reb Avigdor, and there's a scene around him, and he sees Zalman Leib from far. So he says, "Do get the piata from davener." It's like the heel. He's the piata. Who do you think you are? You became a big Chabad davener. Do get the piata from davener. Now let me read a little bit in Yiddish from the Friedrich Rebbe. Baruch Mordechai feeling der Stoch und der Chilul Kvoved HaChasidus Berabem hat geämpft. Baruch Mordechai felt that this was a jab. He couldn't keep quiet because this was in public. So he answered. He said, you know what? The Piyata von Adavener is a dover Godel al Pitoir bringt a Teyelis in drei Sachen. The heel of a davener is something very important, and it could help you on three issues. People were like quiet. They knew that a Baruch Mordechai was a very smart person, and he would say, he would say things al derech hatzachus. So he said it's a Mishnah Meforeshes. No one knows the Mishnah, so they were looking which Mishnah. He waited for a few minutes. When no one knew the answer, the Baruch Mordechai said, "The Mishnah in Avazok, Akavia, the Piate ben Hamalal von Adavener, was loib the Eibishten Baruch Hu Zok is takel b'shloish advarim." The Mishnah says there's a Piate from Adavener, Akavia ben Mahalal, a Piate from Adavener, and he says is takel b'shloish advarim v'yas the Balu de Aveda. Wenn du wirst wissen, von wann du kommst, dass mehr nicht wie schlechte, gekruchige Tropen, wirst du nicht sein kein Gasruach. Wow, fancy Yiddish. Von einer gekruchene Tropen. When you'll know that mit Tippas Ruche, then you're not going to be a Balgaiva. That was a jab to his brother-in-law. Lo na te heulig, lamakam afari, wenn du weißt, wohin du gehst, wirst du nicht haben kein Teves und nicht Glusten, kein Geld. ולפני מי אתה עושה ליב חשב ולפני מלך מלאכים הקדוש ברוך הוא דם ומן זין הירא חטא. That was the end. This was a story that the Frierdiker Rebbe told in Chicago. So bottom line, there's a Choshev Yid, the Baruch Mordechai, son-in-law of Reb Shmuel, the dying in days of the Gra. He becomes Talmud Alter Rebbe. The family excommunicates him. He goes, he becomes a Choshev Rov in Babroisk. Family now comes to make amends. And here is this thing that Rebbe Avigdor is laughing, the Piata from Adavener. He says, what are you talking about? It's a Mishnah Meforeshes. Kavia v'malal, the Piata from Adavener. This is 1942. The Rebbe says, immediately he was flooded. He got a flood of letters to Merkez L'Inyan Chinuch. Some was saying that the Misnagdim are enjoying it. Lubavitch Rebbe is coming to Chicago. He's saying funny things. Kavia ben Malalo. There was a man, his name was Zakavia. His father's name was Mahalala. And you're telling me the Piata from Adavener, it's like a funny pshat. There were two people, by the way. They were not one person. The Piata from Adavener, what can the others say? Look, you can't blame the Siddim. Magidim like to say, Vertlach, the Allgemeine Mesholem from the Dubna Magid. If the Magid could do it, why can't the Lubavitcher Rebbe do it? But other people that Rebbe saying are writing to him letters, come on. Do you want to whisper to your father-in-law maybe that he should say other sikhs, Maybe you whisper to your father-in-law. Tell him that, going around America telling such funny folk stories is not such good PR for Chabad. You tell other things, not this. That's what the Rebbe writes. You can imagine if the Rebbe got such a letter, that the Rebbe would not ignore it.
That he originally wanted to settle in Chicago, and then one told him he wouldn't be welcome.
And Eastern Park, where they also told him he wasn't welcome. But the Rebbe wrote a tshuva to answer it. And it was a geshmak tshuva. This is the first one of the tshuva Sabiyurim. First of all, the Rebbe goes through arichas showing that in the Torah, a name is very meaningful. When you give a child his name, starting from Chava, ki yoyse em kol choy. Esav says, Hachi kodesh shmo Yaakov ve'akveni zeh pa'amayim. And we see that a name, even if it was unintended, that the Gemara says that it may have a medayik bishma. The Gemara says a story about Doyeg. There was a child, his name was Doyeg ben Yosef. In the time of the Churban Beis Hamikdash, that he was the father died, but the mother was extremely wealthy, and every day she would wait. She would put him on the scale, and if he gained a little weight, she was so happy. In America, it works the other way around. But you go Weight Watchers, and if you lose a pound, they clap for you. But then you gained a pound. Oh, so if he gained a pound, she would give a pound of gold to the Beis Hamikdash. And b'shas the Churban Beis Hamikdash, the mother was never so hungry, she killed a child and ate his flesh. So the Gemara says that the reason for it is because his name was Doyeg, and the original name Doyeg was a big Rosh, Doyeg Doimi, which Mashkocha Protis, Today, I'm starting to say the capital Num Beis in Tehillim, Bevoy Elov, Doye Gadomi Kashaba Beis Achimelech. So because the child had the name of Doye, that's what happened to him. So the Rebbe says we see from Chazal that a name is a very serious thing. And so the Rebbe said that's in general. Befrat, in this case, that there is a befedish thing from the Arizal. That Arizal writes in Shara Gilgulim that Akavya b'ma'alalel b'soit octave, v'lachein nikra shmoi Akavya. Lefisha Akavya zitikin gamke mahalalel ben Canaan, that he was metaken the Zayda. And the Emes says, the Rebbe brings the Medrash Agoda says that Mahalalel was chozer b'tshuva lahalal l'shabech l'fnei Kadosh Baruch Hu. And the Mishnah says in Eidius, ein azoran in elus b'fnei kol adam b'Yisrael ba'nova ka'akavya b'mahalalel. So the Rebbe brought Rayas, Poshet, from a Medrash, from a Mishnah, from a Befedish Arizal, that Ba'akavya b'mahalalel means the piyata from